Okay, in this video, I'm gonna try to tell you my 5-step process that I use in new areas when I'm hunting new areas. It's 5-step process that I use that helps me find bulls every single year. And these are the 5 steps. We have e-scouting. I'm gonna tell you the steps and then I'm gonna tell you why each step is important. We have e-scouting, then we have the actual boots on the ground scouting. After that, you have locating elk during the season. Then you have calling that bull in. When you locate him, then you have to call him in. And the 4th step is the shot. So these are the 5 steps, and each step has to be done properly in its time, because if you skip one step or if you mix them in the wrong order, it doesn't work like that. So we're gonna start with e-scouting. I'm gonna tell you why it's important, and I'm gonna give you tips how you can do it properly. So e-scouting for me, it is not to, when I use Onyx Maps, Google Maps, I also use sometimes Go Hunt, but e-scouting is to find an area you want to dissect every mile of it. So e-scouting is, I find an area, usually it's a 10 by 10 square mile box. That's 100 miles, that's a lot. You cannot, that's the thing, you have a tag for the whole unit, you cannot hunt the whole unit. The 5 years is not enough for you to hunt the whole unit. You take a small area, 10 by 10 square miles, that is 100. That is 100 square miles. You're not gonna be able to hunt all that in one season. 1 week is not enough, 2 weeks is not enough for you to go through those 100 square miles, hike through everywhere and find elk, no. So you find that, by e-scouting, you find that area you choose to hunt, and then you start dropping pins on the areas you want to check out in person when you go the actual boots on the ground scouting. So when I'm e-scouting, I'm dropping pins on water holes, on benches, on hills, on cliffs. When there's a cliff and if there's a bench, I'm gonna drop pins over there. I'm trying to get familiar with the terrain and the layout of how the canyons, the timber, the patches of trees, or maybe the clear cuts. I'm trying to be as familiar as I can to that area, because the more I'm aware, the more I understand about it, the more efficiently I can scout, actually when I'm going there in person. And the better I can scout it, the better I can hunt it. So when I'm doing my e-scouting, all of my online scouting, I am building routes. The thing is that sometimes I build long routes, like 7-8 miles, mile loops, but those are usually, I do them once, and then I have enough information, I'm gonna build a smaller route, which is usually 2 or 3 miles, and that is in the areas that I find the elk use frequently. And those are, I call them elk hot zones. Those are gonna be their staging areas, their rutting grounds, small pockets where they can be either by the highways, by roads, by trails, places that are avoided by other hunters. There's less pressure, there's safety from predators, and they have timber, they have cover, and they have food and water. So those are smaller pockets that you have to find. It's really hard to find them. But when you find that pocket, there's gonna be like 20, 30 elk coming through there in a week. And when you find those pockets, your success is gonna skyrocket through the roof. You're gonna be finding so many elk. That is what most people don't understand. They think that e-scouting is to find your camping spots. E-scouting is to, you drop your pins and then you go hunt there. No, e-scouting for me is a step before I do the actual scouting. And when I'm doing the actual scouting, which is step number 2, so we have e-scouting, then we have B-scouting, boots on the ground scouting. When I'm doing the actual scouting, I am looking for elk sign. I'm still not looking for elk. There's no point of trying to find elk if you can't shoot them, if you can't hunt them. So when I'm doing all of my scouting, I'm moving very, very quickly through the forest. I'm trying to cover as much ground to get familiar and be aware of the surroundings, to know what's happening. Is this is this a place where I want to hunt? Is there enough sign from elk for me to commit to hunting this spot? Or do I have to eliminate this spot from my hunting list and go scout another spot? So when I go out to scout, I'm looking for elk sign. Those are going to be the very heavily used trails. They're going to be their feeding areas that they frequent, and they're going to be their staging areas, their rutting areas from the previous year. I'm looking for rubs and wallows from previous year, and I'm constantly on the lookout for a hidden pocket, a smaller area. You can't hunt, that's the thing, like I used to think that, I used to drop pins all over the unit, but you waste so much time driving around. So now I'm like niching down to like one specific area. The better you understand the area, the quicker you can move through it, and you can focus on hunting instead of just hiking, being lost, getting into canyons you don't want to be in, and then having to spend half a day climbing out. I understand that's part of hunting, but you're trying to be efficient. If you want to find 20 bulls during the season, there's a lot of prep work that you need to do in finding those designated, their favorite spots that they frequent a lot. And so that's what I do when I'm actually scouting. I'm looking for sign. I'm still not looking for elk. Also, another thing, when I'm scouting, I can set trail cameras for the summer, for August, just to see. I don't use trail cameras to like pattern elk. I just want to see what kind of elk are in there, kind of how many, the population, because if all I had just 2 elk go through, I'm most likely not going to hunt that area. But if I consistently get elk coming through with multiple bulls or many cows, then I know that if there's a lot of cows there, most likely the bulls are going to move in during the rut. They're going to be in there as well because there's already elk there. I mean, that's the thing about rut. It's they want something. The bulls want the cows, and the cows want the bulls, and they want to be together. So that is. So for me, e-scouting is to find areas I want to actually scout. Actual scouting is to find areas if I want to hunt them. And if the area does not have enough elk sign, that's okay. I eliminate it from my list. I'm going to go scout another area that has enough sign for me to go hunt there. And that's the thing. You might have to check out 10 areas to find like three really good areas. 3 really good small pockets. You might have to check out 10 areas. It's just it's a matter of time and work that you have to do. You go camping, you go hiking, you go on a Saturday, you go exploring, you try to gather as much information as you can, because the more informed you are, the better decisions you're gonna make. The most time you're gonna waste is when you're the least informed. Just remember, when you get to a spot and you immediately say, oh, I don't want to hunt here, it is most likely because you drove there and you've never been there before. You put a point, you dropped a waypoint on your maps, and you said, I'm going to hunt there. You get there and you're immediately disappointed because it doesn't look what you thought it's going to look like. It's either super steep, or there's no elk there, or the area was burned out, or maybe the logging went through and they logged everything. Maybe they closed the gates, maybe they opened the gates, and now everyone's driving through. There's going to be a bunch of rifle hunters sighting in their rifles and in your hunting spot, which you thought it's going to be your hunting spot, but since you've never been there before, you don't know what to expect. And when you got there on the opening day, you see there's 20 trucks parked. There's 10 guys already climbing all over the place with red hats and orange vests, and you get disappointed. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive 50 miles across the unit to your second spot, only to be disappointed again, because you've never been there before. You don't even know what the place looks like. You don't even know if there's elk there. You don't even know if you want to hunt that area. You drive to an area and you don't know what to expect. You visualized, oh, it's gonna be perfect. Oh, I'm gonna go in. Oh, it's gonna be easy to walk through. And then you get there and it's just complete deadfall. It takes you like 5 hours to go 1 mile, to go half a mile through deadfall. And I've done that before. I get to a spot, I start hiking in, and it just becomes thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. Deadfall, trees 4 feet wide are just everywhere, and you have to, it's like this, you're just climbing over a tree under blackberry bushes, over a tree under blackberry bushes. Then you walk a tree, then you jump, and it's a swamp. So elk love those spots, but you have to, e-scouting is to find your hunting areas that you want to scout more. The actual scouting is to find and commit to a spot that has enough elk sign that you are gonna, you have proof that there were elk here either recently or they were here last year, so they're gonna be here this year as well. Yeah, they move around everywhere, but if you find those pockets, they will be there this season as well. And then we get to locating bulls. The easiest way to locate bulls is in the areas you've been before. You know the layout, you know how to navigate through the terrain, you know where to hike up the canyons, where to hike down the canyons. You know where it's gonna be the easiest for you to go up and the easiest for you to come down. You've been there before multiple times. You know where the elk bed, you know where the elk feed, and you know when you get in there, if you bugle, nothing responds, you give it 20 minutes, you walk through, and you know if they're not there. And then you go to your spot number 2 that you've already been to, you scouted there as well, and you don't waste time. You don't waste your hunting season. So that's step number 3, is locating bulls. Once you locate an elk, you switch to the last 2 steps. Step number 4 and step number 5 is calling the bull in, and positioning yourself for the shot. For me, they go hand in hand because you move. When you're calling a bull in, you're either moving up towards him or you're moving around him. You're doing the calling, so you're trying to close the distance or have him close the distance as you're positioning yourself for the shot, depending on how the wind is blowing. So the elk can see you through the bushes, he can see movement, he can hear you walking through the forest, but if he smells you, he knows it's a human being. He knows it's you. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to loop around to smell you because they are curious. They want to know. You did the location bugle. They hear something coming through the forest. Now the bull who responded to you, he wants to know, who are you? Who are you? And he's coming to you and he's looping around to get downwind because he wants to smell you. Before he sees you, he wants to smell you. He can smell you from 100 yards away because if he smells you, by the smell, he will be able to tell which elk it is. And you are constantly trying to avoid being smelled. So you move with the wind, the elk moves with the wind. If the elk moves right, you move left. You move right, depending on how the wind is blowing. But that's why I have those squeeze bottles in every pair of pants, every backpack, everywhere. I have those orange squeeze bottles that puff out the powder to see which way the breeze is going. And those last 2 steps, calling him in and positioning yourself for the shot, they go hand in hand. You can't just think like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call him in. Your bow is like 5 feet away, and you're not ready. It's a matter of a split of a second. He's not gonna stand there for half a minute in the open and waiting for you to shoot him. If he sees you and he gets nervous, most likely he's gonna run away. Because when he's nervous, it's us people. When we are nervous, we're like, oh, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just overthinking. But the elk are playing a survival game. If they get nervous, they know that there's a threat, either an animal or a person or something there that made them nervous. He's not gonna just stand around. He knows he's gonna be better off if he just like runs away because gets away from the threat. Because they're playing this game 24/7. They are in survival mode 24/7. During the rut, their sensory survival mode kind of goes down because they have that urge. and both cows and bulls. So that is why it's the easiest time to kill an elk is during the rut, or if he's stuck in a fence. But during the rut, they are less aware. They care less about the. Not that they care less. It's more of like during the rut, they have another thing that they're focusing on, another urge. So their safety, security awareness kind of goes down, and that's your chance to kill him, to call him in and kill him. So these are the 5 steps. You have e-scouting. E-scouting is to find places you want to scout in person before you commit to hunting them. Then you have actual scouting, which is to scout the heck of that place, of that area, until you find evidence of elk, specifically from the previous year. Their staging areas, their rubs, their rutting grounds, the benches, their living rooms where they chill. That is why you do the actual scouting, is to find sign of elk. If you don't find sign of elk, you go back to e-scouting and back to B-scouting, boots on the ground scouting. If you find sign of elk, you commit to hunting that spot, you put it on your maps, you build your routes, you drop your pins, you go, you scout that area a couple of times to get familiar with it, to know how you're gonna hunt it. You have to have a plan how you're gonna hunt it. So step number 3 is locating bulls. Step number 4 is calling the bulls in. And step number 5 is positioning yourself for the shot. And these 2 steps, the 4 and 5, calling the bull in and positioning yourself for the shot, they go hand in hand, because you have to balance them. As you're calling him in or as you're approaching him, you're positioning yourself for the shot. You're moving around with the wind, depending on what the wind is doing and what the elk is doing. So this is the 5-step process that I use. I've developed it for my elk hunting, but you can apply it in any kind of hunting. In fact, most of my hunting experience comes from Oregon and Washington, just the western sides. That's what I hunt. I get general tags every year, and I have my favorite spots that I go to, and then I have the new spots that I check out throughout the year, throughout the summer. I'm scouting them. So you don't have to hunt in units that have the most elk, because units that have the most elk, they have the most pressure, they have the most hunters, they have the most activity, the most guys driving around on trucks, hikers hiking through. So I like to hunt units that have like less elk, just because there's a lot less hunting pressure. But again, that's me. Also, I don't shoot small bulls, I don't shoot spikes or cows, even if they're legal, because I wanna be next level. Because if I'm trying to go for the trophy bull or a bigger bull or a mature 6x6 or 5x5, if I'm shooting for that, if that's what I want, then I need to work harder. And since I'm working harder, I become better. And that's my end goal, is to become a better hunter. I want to find more elk. I want to have more interactions with elk. I want to be a better scouter, a better hunter, a better caller, a better stalker. I want to try to get within, as close as I possibly can to elk, because that builds your confidence. And the more confident you are, the more success you're going to have. Because instead of going into the forest, seeing the first spike and shooting him, that's when your season is going to be over. You commit to shooting a 6-point bull, you're going to scout smarter, you're going to hunt harder, and you're going to be more successful, because you are working towards those elk interactions. That builds your confidence, and as it builds your confidence, you gain more experience and you become better. So this is the 5-step process that I use in Oregon and Washington, and it actually works. That's the thing. Most hunters, they don't have a plan. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have a process. They don't even have the steps laid out. They think that the e-scouting is to find their camping spots. They think that the actual scouting is to go and find elk. I don't look for elk when I'm actually scouting. I look for their sign, and I'm investigating the area. Is this a good elk hunting area? Is there enough sign? I'm not looking for elk. I'm not glassing. You can do those things, but I'm more interested in knowing is this area going to have elk in September? If I don't think this area is gonna have elk in September, I'm not gonna hunt there. But if I find enough evidence, if I find enough sign from elk, I'm gonna put it on my hunt list. I'm gonna map it. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna plan my routes. I'm gonna check out water holes. I'm gonna literally investigate the whole thing to have as much information as I can, because the more you're informed, the better decisions you can make. If you have this much information, if you have minimal information, you don't know about anything, you can go here, you can go there, you can walk there, you can hike up, you can hike down, you can check out this spot. You're gonna waste your time making mistakes. But the more you're informed, if you know, oh, the elk avoid this, the elk avoid 80% of this area, but they kind of concentrate over here. If you're aware, you will go straight to here. You're gonna avoid wasting your time. So the more aware you are about your hunting spots and about the better you plan, the better you can execute. So 5 steps: e-scouting, boots on the ground scouting. You have locating elk, then you have calling that bull in and positioning yourself for the shot. And one final thing is that from my experience, I tend to always shoot like a split of a second, just like 1 second too early. And every elk I shot, and I lost an elk last year in Washington because I shot him like a second too early. Like he just came out and I shot him, and I don't know, that's my thing, I guess. If I would have waited 1 more second, I think I just rush it. So my advice to hunters is wait 1 more second, then shoot. Like don't squeeze the trigger too quickly. Just wait 1 more second, breathe out, and calmly shoot.